Hey everyone, it is Willow. Welcome back. Today's video, I'm going to be speaking about how important it is to be teachable. This has been a little something that's been on my heart only because I have been doing these videos these past few weeks talking a lot about like a lot of the lessons that I've learned and things that I've researched, and I speak a lot from emotional points in terms of what I've experienced and what helped me be able to get over certain things or learned a lesson, gain more knowledge. But with that being said, I feel like there is still so much information out there. There's so many ways that you can learn. Not everything works for everybody. And on this journey of discovering myself even on a deeper layer, walking really with Christ, and also changing a lot of my mentalities and behaviors and habits, everything that comes with rediscovering yourself, I know how important it is to also be the student, to sit in a student position and to not constantly be teaching all the time, and to learn and to grow from that. It's also really funny because I was on a Zoom meeting this morning and one of the girls was talking about how there's so many people nowadays that will like learn one or two things and then they go off and start a course about it, and they start like creating this course to try to get money. And a lot of the times these are people who just learned and are like still learning and still need to be in that student position, but they take the very little knowledge that they have grasped onto and try to teach it to others. And again, like that knowledge may be valuable and gold and beautiful and all of the things above, but there is also beauty in being the student first and learning and gathering some information and then going off about your way in teaching people. I always like to say for myself that I will never ever know everything, which is so contradicting to my younger self because she swore she knew everything. Lord is the only one who is all-knowing. He knows everything, and that's why it's so important to put your trust into the Lord, because the Lord will never ever steal you wrong. He is the past, present, and the future. So as long as you continue to put your trust into him, he will guide you into the right direction. And this is truly one of the best things that I have done for myself, putting myself in the mentality of always being the student and not necessarily the teacher. When time comes and I feel called to teach and to be that person that is like, hey, you know, God is working through me in order for me to teach something to somebody or to be vocal about something, I always take on that position and be obedient in that way. But also I have prioritized and found so much love in like being the student first and learning and grasping new knowledge and information, because as I stated before, I was not always this way, okay? I was definitely the type of child that like my mom would tell me something, I'd be like, girl, I know. Like, I know. You do not need to tell me. You don't need to tell me twice. You don't need to tell me not even the first time. I know everything. That was my favorite word when I was younger, was I know. Like, I know how to do something. I know how to go about something. It was one of those situations where it was like, I know that like I wouldn't even ask for help. Like sometimes I just wanted to figure it out myself because I was so like, I know how to do this. Like I know how to handle this. I know what's the right way to go about something, and it definitely stumped my growth in some areas, and I had to learn the hard way with some situations. God definitely had to humble me in some areas, but it was such a thing, like a mentality that I developed at like a very young age, just like from being young and being like, I don't need anybody to tell me about me, or I don't need anybody to tell me anything about life because I already know how this life works. And my mom was like, girl, you are in for a ride. When I was younger, I always loved to learn. I was a great student. I loved learning and bringing in new information about things because again, I always wanted to know that why. But as I got older, I learned the difference of what it means to be taught and to be teachable versus liking to learn. So what I've kind of adapted the mentality of being teachable as is being able to hear something and apply it, whereas like learning about something is like a completely new foreign subject, or something is very foreign to you and you're learning about it, you're getting the knowledge, the information, the facts. But to be teachable is like to maybe you've done something some way for like a very long period of time and somebody's trying to show you a new perspective of it or a new way of doing something, and then you apply it. Obviously with like good discernment and judgment if that is actually, you know, in the right perspective or mentality for you to dive into. But that's kind of what I differentiated the two from, being able to be teachable and then also being somebody who likes to learn. This has helped me so much in my relationship with Christ, because when I had first started walking with Christ, I was very much in the mentality of like being so open to learning more about Christ. I grew up Catholic, and then I kind of steered a little bit away from my Catholicism practices and developed my own relationship with Christ, but it wasn't as deep and intimate as it is now. When I first started like my walk, I think I always wanted to be like, I know how this situation is going to play out, so I'm going to avoid it. Or I know that this isn't right for me, so I'm not going to do this. And it's weird because Christ works in the most mysterious ways possible. And it's so important to trust him because, again, he's all knowing. When you don't want to lean into that trust of the Lord, because yeah, something may look one way, but it's not necessarily how the Lord's going to go about it or what his purpose is for it. So whenever you try to go against whatever it is that he does have planned for you, it's almost as like you're trying to grasp back control. I realize how much that is rooted in control, like in you wanting to kind of pretend like, okay, like I already know this is how Christ works, and so he wouldn't want me to do this, instead of kind of going to Christ about a situation or going to Christ about something and being like, okay, like I understand that you may want me to go this direction, and I'm going to trust you in it, and I'm going to lean into it and just go and be obedient about it. You're trying to grasp that control over what you think is right for you, and then also that kind of messes up with your obedience to being obedient to the Lord, because now you're at a point where you're not even like obeying what he's telling you to do. You're just like, no, I know that this is not how it goes, so I'm not even gonna try. And it's funny because, again, like God does things in very weird ways. He uses situations in weird ways. He can work in areas that, like, you know, seem impossible. And whenever you try to like actually lean into that, it's like your brain wants to automatically be like, that's like not how that works. So I feel like for a while I was like, had this like tight grip on everything, and trusting and really leaning into him and being like, okay, I need to kind of take a little step back. Like I need to humble myself a little bit more. Learning about Christ is such a long and life journey. I feel like you're forever going to be learning about Christ, just like how you're forever going to be the student in a situation, well, the student in life. You're forever learning about Christ and who he is and how he works in your life. So to think to yourself that, oh, Christ would never do this, or this is not how he would plan a situation for me, or how something would go about, you could be self-sabotaging whatever the Lord truly does have for you. And it could be a great, beautiful blessing. That's why it's so important to always bring it back to the Lord, but also be teachable. Like if the Lord is trying to get you to be, if the Lord is trying to get you to be obedient in an area, be obedient. Like do not rely on your own knowledge. Do not rely on the fact that, you know, you may have been in this situation before and you went this way instead of the other way. Christ, again, works in such mysterious ways. And this mentality of like putting myself and like really humbling myself, because again, this is all kind of rooted in humility, but I feel like there's so many layers to humility. And the reason why I say that, this is something that like I haven't done a lot of research on, and I wish I could like I might have to ask a pastor about it or something. I don't know, I feel like there's so many layers to humility. In some areas of our life, we can be so humble, and then in other areas, it's like pride all over it. And we're just like, what is happening? Doesn't mean that I don't think that it means that you're leaning so far into one or the other, but it might be a scale type of situation where it's like you can have pride on one side, humbleness on one side, and depending on, you know, where you fit in that scale, God could be trying to teach you about some stuff. I'm a firm believer that we can learn through anybody. We can learn through children. We can learn through people who are adults, elders, anybody in our lives we can learn from. It doesn't matter who they are, what they look like, what they got going on in their life, or if you think that you are above them, if you think you are below them. It does not matter. Everybody in our life has such richness and gold in certain areas of their life that they can help other people out in, and I think that's a part of God's design. God designed us in such unique and beautiful ways that we kind of all fit as a puzzle piece to create one big puzzle. We all share different areas of power in knowledge, and like we all have these different areas where we can teach and become better human beings just all together. God always uses people to do his works through, and I feel like when God does send you somebody or places somebody in your life, there is always something that you can learn from them. And this has recently, or I don't want to say recently, but like probably over the past year, something I have been really trying to like absorb to the best of my ability, how my community that I am surrounded with currently can teach me, and what I see in them that like I would be like, wow, like can I pick your brain for this? Like, can I pick your brain for this? Can you speak to me? There's even moments where like I'm at work and I'm talking to a coworker and they're telling me something just naturally that I learn from and I like take in, and I'm just like, wow, like this is crazy how much people can pour into you in such a effortless way. Like it is so effortless and is so smooth and just alignment and fits into your life so perfectly. Even when it does come to some of our friendships, I know we've had friendships that like you want to tell your friend something and your friend is like, I'm gonna be honest here and I'm going to correct your behavior because this is wild, and you're like, oh, is it? Like I just and you're like forever grateful for those type of friends, because those are the friends that are genuinely watching out for you, because correction is definitely protection. The Lord corrects us all the time to protect us from certain situations, behaviors, habits, or beliefs that are just end up going to drive us down the path of death, pretty much, to kill, steal, and destroy. He is genuinely always trying to protect us, and that's why he corrects a lot of our behaviors and shuts some doors and puts some ends to certain things, because he knows that it's only going to lead to destruction, and he needs to insert himself in it to prevent that from happening, because he has something obviously always better for us, and restoration is always in the will of the Lord. Leaning on that is definitely one of the best things that always gets me through the mentalities of whenever you do have a door shut on you. And instead of us like looking at that friend like, wow, this friend is always shaming me or guilting me or making me feel bad, it's best to look at the lens of like, okay, what is this friend trying to teach me? Like, is there something genuinely like that? You know, you can't always have those yes men in your circle. Always having a yes man in your circle is never ever going to be beneficial for your growth and your learning and your student position here on earth. So it's like you want those people in your corner, and instead of taking that information and thinking that, you know, they're out to get you, you should look at it in a situation. It's like, wow, this friend really does care for me, and I'm going to understand how they see it in their perspective, and I'm gonna do some research, I'm gonna get my facts, I'm gonna read my word, and I'm gonna see, you know, like where they were coming from. And that is one of the best things about really putting yourself into the mentality of learning how to be teachable, is that you open your mentality to so many possibilities, perspectives, opinions, and opportunities, and you do not have to agree with everything. Okay, you're obviously going to come in contact with a lot of people that have their opinions on life and have certain behaviors that you do not agree with, and that is okay. But also sitting in the position where it's like, ooh, like I could take that information, or I could take that lesson or that word, that mentality that somebody has, and I can do a little bit more research on it, and I can see, you know, what I can pick from that or what I can adapt to better myself as a person. That's all what it is about being teachable. And also to be like, you know what, it's not in my hands, it's not in my control, so I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna see how I can use this situation for the better of my good. You are always deserving of getting your facts and your information. So I think one thing about being teachable is that you have to be open to other people's perspectives and mentalities and their beliefs. and not being the type of person that's going to just like shut it down right away. But also, you are completely valid to your own personal beliefs and opinions and mentalities. So you can have your facts, and you can have, you know, your information, and you can take, you know, what somebody else is saying and look into it and pry into it and be like, ooh, I don't think I'm gonna take that piece. But you can always be somebody who is firm and rooted in what you truly believe in, but also have a listening and open ear for what God may be trying to show you. It's funny because I feel like one thing I always think about is like when your sibling, like if you are a younger sibling, I am a younger sibling, and I always think about how like my older sibling will tell me something and I'm like, shh, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you do not absolutely know what you're talking about. And then like a few days later, God will be trying to show me something, or he'll be trying to like tell me something, and I'm like not really leaning into it as much as I should be. And then it like comes from my sibling, and I'm like, ugh, you are so irritating. But I know this is God trying to get me to open my ears and put my listening ears on. So it's like one of those things where it's like you can have your own belief, but just keep your ears open, because you never ever know when the Lord is trying to genuinely work through somebody to get you to a better point. And it could be your annoying older sibling. It just could be that person. But it is so important to just, again, like be humble and like be in that position where it's like, I don't know everything, and I can't walk around here pretending that I do, because I'm trying to figure out life just as much as the next person is, regardless of what their situation looks like and regardless of what mine looks like. I always look at it this way. I love when I can speak to somebody about like something that bothered me, like, hey, I didn't like when you did X, Y, and Z because, you know, it hurt me in so and so way. And then the person is like, I am so sorry, and they listen and they apply, and I'm like, oh, that is amazing. Like, that made me feel great. Like, now I feel like our friendship is deeper. I feel like our relationship is deeper because you genuinely like took it in, and you were like, I'll note that for next time, and like went on to life actually keeping that in the back of your mind and like being teachable about that and like really absorbing that information. So I always think about that in life in general, even with Christ, like, you know, your relationship with Christ, like when he's telling you something and you listen and you're like, okay, and then you're obedient and you continue to move on. It's like, you know, it builds your trust. It builds your trust in your relationship with Christ. It builds your trust in your relationships physically here on earth. And you're just like, wow, this is amazing. And it's an amazing feeling. I'm going to use the gym for an example. Like when you are in the gym and you are using the wrong form, it always hurts. Like, it always hurts really bad. And eventually, if you keep doing the wrong movement, you're going to strain your back. You're going to cause an injury. You're going to be out of the gym for a longer period of time. But like when somebody comes up to you in the gym and they're like, hey, like, you know, your form is a little off. Can I show you how to do your form correctly? Honestly, I don't advise anybody to do this. But if you genuinely, I guess, do see somebody and you're like, you're going to break your back actually tonight, like right now, I guess it's appropriate. But and you like are fixing, and you're like, you do your form, you fix your form, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this feels so much better. I'm now seeing a lot more progress faster, and I'm beyond happy that I was able to be open to that and to receiving that, because it just makes life so much better. And a lot of the times there are people who genuinely want to help and who are genuinely like saying things to help. Shutting it down immediately just only kills your own growth and your own evolution. And that's not what we want. We want to continue to keep evolving throughout all the years and eras of our life as much as possible. If there is one thing that you do, it's don't ever lean on your own understanding. Always take everything back to the Lord and test the Spirit. That is the number one when it comes to anything in this life. Take the opportunity to be teachable. Take the opportunity to be the student when you can be. And when you feel called to teach in a specific moment, teach. Do not withhold information. Sometimes the Lord is trying to work through you to be able to expand his kingdom, and you are so knowledgeable and beautiful in so many ways, and there's so many things people can learn from you. So never withhold that, but always be in the position to learn more and to grasp more information. It's never going to be 100% all knowing in every single area And even in the ones that I feel like we do study for so long and go to school for, it's like there's still always so much to learn, because the world is evolving and new information is coming out every single day, and knowledge, and just so much that we can continue to dig deeper into. So wherever you're at in your journey of discovering yourself, learning about yourself, growing and evolving, it's what we're here to do. There's so much to learn in this life. There's so many areas to dive into, and at the end of the day, it's only going to strengthen your relationship with the Lord, and that's all he wants from us. So I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in another one. Bye.